Aha! It's working! Hello. I had some audio issues. Hopefully everything is sorted as needs be. We should be fine. Let's go ahead and post that. Let me know if the music is at a comfortable volume for everybody. The music is... Post that. Okay. Everything should hopefully be working out. Let me adjust something on my laptop. Okay. And that should hopefully be the last attention I give to that. So, today, we are going to be playing some Pokemon Y, shiny hunting our starter, Chespin, to prepare for a Pokemon Y Nuzlocke. Now, as you can see, I have already been hunting this for about 2.5 hours. My original plan was to hunt it on my own, and then maybe do a run later. Hang on. Let me adjust some stream settings. Put that up to there. See if it likes that. Alright, let's see if updating that makes YouTube happy. So, as you can see by my counter, I'm already a decent way in. Now, the way this is going to work is it's not actually going to show... Let me explain it this way. So, if you look, underneath the name is a timer. That's the total time I've been shiny hunting, about 2.5 hours. Underneath that is amount of times, the time this reset. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's not going to properly show up during the stream. So I have that set up on my phone, and I'll just be controlling it from there. But it will update properly as every time I do a reset. Let me check the increment. It's set to 1 properly. That's good. All right. So without further ado, this is going to be a very chill, laid-back live stream where I'm just going to... there's no comfortable way to do this. My microphone is unwieldy and in the way. Let me know if I need to adjust any audio or anything. So, one thing I am going to do is configure that. I want to set the audio down to like 15. Lovely. Okay, so I have this button set up to swap the screens. It's not perfect, but it'll do. All right, and I'm already set up at the point where we are going to be hunting from. Now, one downside is because... let me explain it this way. I am using my actual 2DS to play this game. However, I am streaming it through Citra with some graphical adjustments to make it more pleasant. They'll become clearer once I move in here. But because of that, the game does run a little slower. So as you can see, there's no outlines, so the harsh black lines aren't as problematic here. I think overall it makes the game look a hell of a lot better. And I have some adjustments to the resolution as well. And I'm not going to be worrying about nickname or anything like that for myself or for my Pokemon. But obviously we're going for Chespin. Every 10 resets, we're going to go for Fennekin instead. So I have essentially a 1 in 10 chance on top of the shiny odds to get Fennekin rather than Chespin. Oh, whoops. I did not mean to do that. It'd be so funny if I get it first try here. I won't even know what to do with myself. So, there's a very good chance this hunt is going to take a long time. I don't know how often I'm going to stream this. It might just be this once. But we'll see. We'll see if anybody even shows up for this stream. If nobody bothers, then probably we won't do another one. But it's going to be chill, laid back. I'm not really going to be doing much. Alright, no shiny. So we're going to reset, pump that, and as you can see, the timer has properly gone up. Unfortunately, now I have to wait like 8 years for this to load. Once I see the FPS jump to 30, I'll know it's properly restarted. Oh my goodness. I may have to just pause the timer while it's doing. There it goes. No, this still counts, I suppose. That took 40 seconds. Alright, so my counters on YouTube are not properly working, it would seem. One moment. Alright, so my... There we go. And then it's going to take an additional 20 seconds to get up to here. But that's fine. So this is pretty much all the stream is going to be. It's just me hanging out. Let me turn up the music a little bit. I don't know if it's audible. Alright. Yeah, I think this game looks gorgeous with the no outlines turned on. And that will be the case for the entirety of the Nuzlocke once I've gotten my starter. And yes, the starter will be applicable to the Nuzlocke. So if he or she dies, then he or she dies. But I will be a little lenient. I won't throw it away. I hate how long this is. It genuinely takes years to get this all the way through. All right. Nope. That's pretty much all this is going to be. Just some lo-fi music while we chill and look for a shiny Chespin. I don't know how long I'm gonna go today. We'll see. Maybe until we reach, say, 200. For most of this, I've actually been going up in sets of 2 rather than 1. I've been hunting on multiple systems. So getting through each set is going to take a little while. At roughly now, I would say like 3-ish minutes per reset. Suppose, what's 60 divided by 3? John, are you in the chat? Could you answer that for me? Regardless, I know that an hour and a half, 90 minutes, would be about 30 resets at 3 minutes each. Which is insanely low. An hour and a half for 30. Which is why the majority of the hunting is going to be taking place off stream, where I have multiple, and I did it again, where I'll have multiple consoles to reset from. If anybody enjoys shiny hunting, but is not as interested in seeing a soft reset like this, that is unfortunately going to be going quite slow, then perhaps I could do shiny hunting on some other games. I like to hunt on a good handful of them. Namely, I have quite a few shinies on Scarlet and Violet. I don't enjoy shiny hunting on Legends Arceus as much. Sword and Shield was always a bit iffy. The main shiny hunting was very boring, but egg hunting I found to be a lot more bearable. By the way, look at how good that model looks. Doesn't that just look gorgeous? These games really were wonderful. I actually already have a shiny starter on Omega Ruby for my most recent playthrough of that. But I could absolutely set up a shiny hunt for a legendary or something on there. The reason I like shiny hunting on Scarlet and Violet is because it's a lot more active. So if I'm doing channel shiny hunts just on here, then there's something a little more interesting for people to see. Whereas with stuff like this, unfortunately, you all just get to sit here and listen to my oh so sultry voice. That's sarcasm, by the way. As I gradually lose my mind trying to get a walnut weasel. What is Chespin? I swear I know. I swear I know the species. It's not a pangolin, is it? No. Maybe it was a pangolin. If I'm remembering what a pangolin is, it might have been because pangolin paladin might have been the pun. But I can't quite remember. Obviously, Greninja's entire line are frogs. Pardon me. Then Delphox's entire line are kitsunes. But what is Chespin? A badger? A little weasel? Maybe? I have no idea. What I definitely do not want to be shiny hunting in this game is something like Pavilion. That would suck a little bit. Is it so? I saw a video by Pokemon YouTuber Loxton and Noggin that was about Pavilion. And I know quite a few people thought it was Pavilion. I've always said Pavilion because that just made sense. But according to him, it was just Vivillon, which is bizarre. If that's the case, I've been mispronouncing that Pokemon's name for well over a decade at this point. About 12 years, I think, is when X and Y came out. It was 2013. Well, I guess it came out at the end of 2013, so it'd be more accurate to say 11 or so years. And I'm sure there's a decent chunk of people that hear me say that and do not like it at all. My partner is actually playing through Pokemon X right now, which is what inspired me to go back and do Pokemon Y. But I've been doing other games on the channel. DBZ team training has been decently popular, and it's gotten me wanting to do more Pokemon stuff. And I thought, well, I'm trying to get this anyway, so might as well see if this is something people would be interested in watching. And already, we've got a halfway decent viewer count for me anyway. So maybe this is something I could keep doing. I wouldn't mind going back and playing some Scarlet and Violet, playing some... obviously, doing a Nuzlocke of this game would be very fun. That's definitely a plan I want to do. If you have stuck around with the channel at all, if you're a return viewer, then you'll know I played Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think... Pardon me. I think it was around this time last year that I played Legends Arceus, but I actually plan on doing 2 playthroughs this year before Legends ZA comes out. I want to play through a Nuzlocke of this game, which should only take probably about 6, maybe 7 hours. And then not, of course, counting the shiny hunt. And then I do actually want to do a playthrough of Scarlet and Violet and its DLC, which I haven't played through Scarlet and Violet pretty much since a couple months after it released. And I haven't played through the DLC at all. I just wasn't interested in Pokemon at the time. So that could absolutely be something pretty fun. As satisfying as I would find it, if I managed to get the shiny during this stream, I do have a bad feeling it's not going to happen. Part of me doesn't want to hunt off stream, but part of me knows if I only hunt on the stream, I'm never getting this shiny. Given odds are 1 in 4,000 something. Actually, I can check. Whoops. That I just messed up. Hold on. Oh shoot. Oh good, I didn't break it. Where is it? 1 in 4,096. That is the odds for Chespin in this game. And I am doing this at 1 every roughly 3 minutes. This is going to be hell on earth. Meanwhile, if I'm doing it... Pardon me. If I'm doing it off stream, I'm doing it off the emulator, and I will be doing it on multiple consoles. It'll take about 1 minute and 45 seconds. We can just round that down to 1.5 minutes per run, per reset, I should say. And I'll be doing it at 2 every 1.5 minutes. So, in other words, 1 every 45 seconds. Which is significantly better. Significantly. More than triple the speed. Yeah, an unfortunate thing is just how long the load times are with this method. It just takes so long. probably going to be mostly silent through a lot of this. Not really much to say unless something comes to mind. I've gotten pretty good over time at just talking to myself, but with so few people in my chat, there's just not much to say. So you guys just get to enjoy as I slowly go insane. Lovely. So,
how dare you, Detective Diaz? I am your superior officer! Bone! What happens in my bedroom, Detective, is none of your business. Bone! Don't ever speak to me like that again.
and that's the first time my new subscriber notification has come off. Thank you for the subscription, Knox, for 2 months. Do you like the new subscriber notification? 17 seconds of that. I got a copyright strike on my old one, so I decided this was definitely the better option. It scared the hell out of me. Because it starts with the I thought I was playing Faz all of a sudden. Speaking of, whenever GG exists again, we should totally do a Faz stream. That'd be fun. So the fun thing about this method is that I can kind of one-hand my controller for this. And so it means if I want to, off stream at least, do a second console, it'll be quite a bit easier. I could, the thing is, I could try to set up my second console to show up on the stream, but I don't, my other 3DS isn't actually modded. Only my 2DS is, and for some reason I'm just scared to mod it. I did it, I hit fucking I hit nickname again. But yeah, I'm worried that if I try and mod my main 3DS, I'll break it somehow. Even though I had no issue modding the first one, it was incredibly easy. Took not even 30 minutes and it was done. And setting up for this software is even easier. I just don't know. I presume if I wanted to do more than one, I'd probably have to have 2 windows of Citra open, because this is streaming through Citra. Even though it is my actual 2DS. So running multiple might be too much for my system to handle. I'm a little worried about that, because even so much as running multiple windows for one game, it just did not want to work. All right. Yeah, so unfortunately, this is just going to take a long time. I have quite enjoyed running it on multiple systems, just being able to, like I said, more than triple the rate by having 2 systems and not doing it through Citra like this. Has made all the world of difference. It's the only reason I've been able to get as many rolls as I have in less than 3 hours. Meanwhile, if I were to do 3 hours on this stream, I doubt we'd even break 200. It is lovely how this quartet of... Oh, you read the title? Sorry, I didn't see your message. This quartet of misfits that the community just does not like to talk about. I just get to see their faces and read their dialogue for countless hours. And there's not all that much I can do about it. But could you imagine the clip I'll get if I manage to get this on stream? It'd be insane. I'd love it. If I do like 2 of these a week, it would take so long to get a shiny. But like I said, I will be doing it off stream as well. I don't know, would it be... I don't know, I don't want to record it just on my own because then I'll still be running into the issue with it taking forever to reset. I keep forgetting to look at the time before I update the counter. I don't know, because... I'd like to have some kind of evidence that I got it for real. I mean, it could be as easy as just taking a picture when I get it. But, I don't know. Is there even a point? Because even assuming I get this shiny for this Nuzlocke, I'm so bad at Nuzlocks that there's a decent chance that this shiny just dies anyway. Yeah, just having the music in the background is going to make this a lot more bearable. Could you imagine just the clicking of the game with my horrible, horrible voice over it for at least 2 hours? Alright, do you suppose the game looks alright to everybody watching? Does the stream look okay? It took some work to get it to a point where I actually liked it. What I would like to do is more Dragon Ball Z team training at some point. It looks fine from your end, good. I'd like to do more Dragon Ball Z team training, given that that's also kind of a Pokemon game. And then, I don't know, I might intersperse that alongside the Nuzlocke for this. I'd like to get through both this and Scarlet and Violet before ZA comes out. I guess this is just going to be a Pokemon year. Because at some point I was going to be playing through GTA 5 before GTA 6 came out, but something tells me people just aren't going to be interested in that from me. I feel like having more chill games is going to be my forte. Having something more bombastic like that just doesn't really fit my style, I guess. So I shouldn't try and force it. Because I do a lot of COD streams, Call of Duty Zombies. And I enjoy playing those, and I could still do speedruns of that, but I don't know, I feel like it's not suited to the vibe I present myself with, you know? I'm sorry, this is horribly off-center. I need to... Where am I? me get, like, there. Does that look good to everybody? Right in the middle, instead of off-center like that. I think that looks a little better. Okay. Why did it say the game jumped up to 60 FPS? Stop that, you're not supposed to do that. Always nice to give props to the playlist I'm using. Today is Hoops and Hip Hop's Pokemon remixes, I guess I would put them. They're lo-fi versions of existing songs, to the best of my knowledge. We are currently listening to Anvil Town from Pokemon Black and White, and then we have Professor Sycamore's theme from X and Y. And then when that resets, we'll go ahead and move on to their next album, whichever one I decide to do. I can't decide if the music is too loud. I feel like it might drown out my voice a little bit, but I should be significantly louder than it, so it should be fine. Oh shoot, I totally forgot when we reached 110 I was supposed to pick Fennekin. I keep forgetting to do that. No, I also keep telling it to nickname. It doesn't take that much longer, but it does take a little longer. Tierno and Trevor. Two of the most forgettable characters. Forgettable main characters, especially, in the entire Pokemon series. Shauna isn't that much better, but it's definitely Shauna and Callum, or Serena if you're playing as the male trainer. Like, they're the two people who actually care a little bit about. Insane. Oh, I need to remember to set the thing back before I reset. Because now there's just a gap until that's finished. Boom, 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 boom. Perhaps, so I don't jump scare myself again, I'm gonna turn the alerts down. We'll say to 10 and hope that that isn't too low. I remember when I used to do shiny hunting streams, I would have little like party games in the chat for people to play, and it would keep me and them entertained while I was hunting. And maybe that's what I need to set up. But I can't really do that mid-stream, it takes a while. I have to find... pardon me. I have to find scripts and the like that can be run. I feel like at this point I'm actually going to fall asleep at the wheel. This is insane. Oh boy, I got a prof's letter. Maybe I turn the volume up just a little bit. There we go. I think 25% is good. This really is the worst part. The long load time that it has at the beginning of this, every time. Oh, it just occurred to me it was shuffling. I actually have no idea if it's gone through the entire playlist yet. It's definitely looped at least once. So I think in a minute and a half when this song is over, I'll go ahead and find a new playlist. I've got one queued up. It's right there. I've moved away a little bit from my mic, so I'm hopefully still loud enough that it doesn't sound too bad. Yeah, these black screens are atrocious. Oh boy. So, I was like, I was 13, barely 13, when this game came out, and I'm convinced these characters are anywhere from 13 to 16. I think they're closer to 13, 14, but some people seem to be convinced they're closer to 16. And as a kid, for some goddamn reason, I had such a crush on Shauna, and looking back at it now, she's so basic. I feel bad, but looking back on it, just I could have had better taste. 13-year-old me just was not with it, I guess. Oh, now that that song is over. Yep. Oh, hell yeah. Alright, so this should stop at the end of this playlist. It's genuinely, like, between the 3 black screens that I get per reset, it's genuinely, like, more than a minute and a half on its own. It's nuts. It might be pretty close to 2 minutes on its own. Also, I'm getting some lag spikes occasionally. Given this is working, let's go ahead and just disable that preview. If anything doesn't look like it's working, just let me know and I can fix it. So, is Tierno like the professor's aide or something? Like, what? Why does he have the Pokemon? Was he just the one picked by the professor? Like, they just delivered it to him, said go ham? Because Lumiose is pretty far away, if I remember correctly. Unrelated, but this is easily the most populated Twitch stream I've had in a hot minute, so welcome everybody. This is not my usual content, but if this is the kind of response I'm gonna get, it might become my usual content. I haven't enjoyed Pokemon in a long time, and maybe I should. Would you trust the others to carry Pokemon? Would I trust Tierno? That's the question. I would trust Trevor. In fact, if I had to guess, Trevor probably actually brought the Pokemon but gave them to Tierno so that Tierno could feel important. Tierno just gives off the rich kid energy. He has this kind of inflated sense of importance. Not that he's like dickish or anything, just he does think he's a little more important than he actually is. And he's got a penchant for dance. So yeah, I think Tierno has a little bit of an overinflated ego, and Trevor just doesn't want to make him feel bad about it, so just lets him vibe. That's what sounds right to me. Do do do. Do 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 do. I'd love to play through more Spider-Man games or something similar to that, but keeping it to Nintendo games is probably a good idea. Maybe I play through some other 3DS games at some point when I want to play Dragon Ball Fusions on the channel. That could be very fun. Especially as we're currently going through Dragon Ball Z Team Training, which is a fire red, leaf green, really fire red, ROM hack. Quite fun. Heck of a lot more loud while I'm playing it, I suppose. This is a very chill stream. I'm really just focusing on projecting the bass of my voice a little bit more so that people are relaxed while I listen to some lo-fi music. I do have a lot of plosives and whatever that is. Hissing, I guess. Yeah, looking back, Shauna is unbearable. Like, everybody else at this table has decent posture, and she's just leaning forward. Your spine's gonna be ruined, kid. You gotta watch out for that. Your lumbar, you gotta know about it. I do remember probably what it was. There's a scene later in the game where you watch a fireworks show with Shauna, and I think just as a kid, I was so starved for affection that I'm like, oh, yep, this Pokemon character thinks I'm neat. That's my whole personality now, is this Pokemon character. Playing through this game again, not even playing through it, just looking at this game again, has reminded me I had this friend back in middle school. That's when this came out for me, middle school, fucking 5th or 6th grade, probably 6th. I had a friend named Ethan. I'm 90% sure that was his name, Ethan. Very good at competitive Pokemon. Absolutely destroyed me. There's a fireworks scene in an old 3DS game I played and that I've never found again, and I swear it was real. Well, wasn't this one, was it? This is the only fireworks scene I know about. If anybody's watching this stream that is new to the channel, please, by all means, drop a follow. I'd love to see you come back sometime. No, it was a fashion game. I'm gonna be honest. Those are a bit outside of my wheelhouse. I've got to be honest with you. Alright, next reset I get to try for Fennekin. We have done less than 20 resets in an hour. I remember right, I really liked the Pokedex in this game. Just the oh no, it was Gen 5 had a Pokedex style I really liked, where it was kind of one of those. It was like a phone that had the screen that you slide up, but like in reverse. I don't know how to describe it. It was very cool. I liked it. I think this game was just kind of an iPad. Gen 7 had a terrible Pokedex though. Gen 7's Pokedex was just the Rotom Dex, and while I think Gen 8 and Gen 9 both had just the Rotom Dex that was just a smartphone, in Gen 7 it was like a freaking leapfrog device. It was this huge floating Rotom iPad. It was just unwieldy, and I didn't like it. For anybody here that watches me for my COD Zombies content, I finally unlocked Michelangelo's nunchucks, so I plan on getting those to the gold camo soon. I might do that on stream, I don't know. In the meantime, I'll work on unlocking the bow staff. Because it's 250,000 XP for each one, which for me is an average of like 4 games. So I need to actually get through the Easter egg of these maps. Man, it's gonna be weird playing this on handheld again, because the extra stuff Citra can do really does just make this game look gorgeous. Oh, this time it's Fennekin. This is a Fennekin reset. So every 10 resets, I will do Fennekin instead of Chespin. I forgot to do it 10 ago, but I'll do it for this 10. Why did I, like, as a kid I always thought Trevor looked like a geek, but I now I don't understand why. There's nothing geeky about how he dresses. It's just kind of, he's kind of shy, and he's interested in the documentation of Pokemon. Maybe it was just that, and my brain auto-filled the appearance in. Or maybe it was Clement from the anime was one of the companions. And he was definitely a nerd. He was a huge nerd. So no shiny Fennekin, unfortunately. Be wild if I actually got one. It's the hair. Really? Because that's what my hair looked like in like 2016, 17. It looked exactly like that, but way darker. This is Mount Pyre. This is a good song. Maybe I should set it up to be on screen, but I don't know how to do that right now. You know what that meant? Listen to me. I was not a nerd, okay? I was cool, okay? No, so generally when it comes to popularity in like a high school sense, people have this idea of, it's like, oh, you have these cliques and you're either a popular kid or you're a nerd. Or my school was never like that. So when I was growing up, if I had to default, I was actually kind of a popular kid, but I was definitely a nerd. Like, I was definitely a weird one. And what that kind of meant was pretty much everyone knew of me, or like could instantly recognize me, even if I had no idea who they were. I was just a very recognizable face. Part of that was being president of the chess club, which is like the nerdiest thing you can do. I was also on the publications team, but I was also on the football team for a handful of years. I was also in ROTC for a year. I did swimming and basketball, but I don't think I ever did a full season of either one. So I did a lot of things that people would recognize me from. And then, of course, my junior and senior year, I was the guy, TM. In my junior and senior year, I got really heavy into acting. I did some stuff online, but that was the first stuff I had done in person. And so after that, everyone knew me. But then you looked at my friend group, and I had this habit of just collecting the kids that did not belong anywhere else. Just, they didn't have their groups to go to, and so they would just kind of congregate on me. And a couple times we had our table in the lunchroom before school, and a couple times I moved because I met somebody, normally somebody that I was dating at the time, and I would sit with them, and the whole group would just kind of migrate over there over time. And at lunch, it was even better because a lot of people would play 3DSs, especially Smash Bros. And Mario Kart, during lunch. And my table was kind of the head for that. So we had like 4 tables just in an order that people would be playing Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart or sometimes Pokemon at. And then when I was in high school, my second to last, my junior, well, I guess the end of my sophomore and then the beginning of my junior year at high school, the Nintendo Switch came out, and it was over. Pretty much like more than half of the lunchroom was at that point involved in this kind of, I don't know, cult that I was creating of people just playing Nintendo games. And occasionally I would just like not be there, and the whole thing would just kind of collapse in on itself. But it's really funny, like, I never properly ran any clubs. I ran, like I said, I was president of the chess club, but kind of only in a superficial sense. I didn't do anything. And way before that, in the mythology, or pardon me, in middle school, I was president of the mythology club, which was basically just writing club, but we focused on like old stories. A lot of it ended up being a lot of more like cryptozoology stuff than I would have expected. But we ran a lot of events around the school. So, like, we would always run the haunted house every year. We ran fundraisers. We ran the concession stands for sports, pretty much exclusively for basketball. I don't think we did anything for football. But I don't remember because during middle school I was playing football, so I don't remember what the club did. For basketball, I didn't play a lot of basketball in middle school, so I was leading the concession stand there, mostly because we could get like free shit, like just free popcorn and stuff to snack on. So I would just be playing Pokemon and selling snacks, and that was my life. I peaked in middle school. And that is all I have to talk about. So I don't know. Am I gonna go back to silence now, or Nox, are you gonna give me another topic to autism about? Did the music just go hey on the SSN? That's odd. Now look at me. Greek mythology. Sorry. ... Greek mythology. What do you want to know? Do you want to hear about Poseidon? 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 Because in all my years of living, it isn't very often that I get pissed off. Favorite Greek god and or myth? I used to have one. And now I can't remember most of their names because they're all fucking... we could talk about epic musical things. I can't remember what the name of this guy was. Can't spell. Me neither. I just hit to do a nickname. So it used to be like Jason and the Argonauts. I really liked that story. It was a good... I don't know. It was a very clean-cut tale. And I thought it was really interesting. But now it might have been Theogenes, might have been his name, but that might have been a different athlete. It was this guy that ran with Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. And she normally only ran with maidens. So he was like the one guy that was allowed to hang out with them. And it was because he was kind of chill. But I was fascinated by it because there were so many different versions of the telling of that myth, you know? Because it would basically be handled... I gotta yawn again. It would basically be handled with different preconceptions, with some tellings of it being that he was the one man who managed to seduce Artemis, and I never really liked that because it always stood out to me that Artemis was somebody who just like had no time for that nonsense. Go figure. I later learned that I'm pretty much asexual. But a lot of the tellings would just be that he was just this goofball that had no interest in causing trouble for Artemis, and so she just kind of took a liking to him until... Oh god, how did he die? because every Greek tale ends in death. We all know that. But I can't remember how he died. I feel like he got like stung in the ankle by something, or like he stepped on a rock or some shit. Oh, so shit. It's Greek mythology. It would be a thing like he stepped on a rock. Something that I actually do really like, not for the story itself so much because it's kind of creepy, but is the story of Orion and the seven. Oh, they were 7 nymphs, and they're named something, and there are stars named after them. And it's a fascinating myth because I've gotten really into the history of mythology, and the Pleiades, yeah, those are the nymphs. Yeah, the Pleiades sounds right. Pleiades nuts. It'd be so funny if I get the shiny right after saying Pleiades nuts. Nah, that'd be too easy. It's too easy. I'm sorry. I wasn't even leading you into that. I genuinely forgot that they were called that. But Orion chasing the Pleiades across the sky. Zeus is crying a single tear right now, saying, "I don't even know if he's one of mine, but I'm so proud." The reason Orion and the Pleiades is so interesting to me is because nearly every culture in pretty much the entire world, aside from places that were geographically separated, like indigenous Australians or the indigenous peoples of the Americas, everywhere else, it's pretty much, Europe, Asia, and Africa, they all have versions of Orion and the Pleiades. And it makes sense. You look up into the sky and you see, oh, these series of stars kinda looks like a dude, I guess. And then, oh, it's facing these 7 brighter stars over here. How neat. And so the story evolves with this hunter. Every version is this hunter chasing 7 maidens. Go on a rant as well about different versions. There are so many stories that have different versions of the same story. Flood stories are a great example because floods are a very common thing, but great floods, a lot of those derive from the same source, being the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was based on an ancient Mesopotamian flood. So similar stories are very common. The thing that always stuck out to me about Orion and the Pleiades is that it's not a myth based on events. Orpheus and Eurydice, yeah. I mean, Hades Town really... It was already a good story, but my god, that musical's fantastic. Or are you saying that Orpheus and Eurydice are they have a lot of different versions across different... This make me wonder how that originated, because obviously stories like that predate Greek mythology, so you can look back through time and try and figure out where it came from. Why am I dropping so many frames? What is happening? What is hey, the stream might go down. I don't know what's going on. Let me know what is happening. I think my internet might be going out. Are we good? I'm back in the green. Okay, let me know if the stream looks problematic to anybody. Just had it drop up nearly 1200 or over 1200 frames. I saw the number went up on Twitch. Whoever just joined, this is somehow your fault. I'm blaming you exclusively. Drop a follow and I'll forgive you. You refreshed your browser. Yeah, the lag seems to have been on my end. No, it's coming back. That's bizarre. I don't know why that's happening. I appear to be having some minor internet issues. If the stream goes down, I'm very sorry. We'll see if we can make the stream last another 45 minutes or so. But what interests me about Orpheus and Eurydice is it's another one that it could be based on an event, because it could be so simple as this person, it could literally just be as simple as this person lost somebody they cared about, they went into a cave for a couple days, and then they came back out and was like, oh, well, they couldn't save them. And that on its own is kind of interesting, because for something that seems so mundane when I phrase it like that, it became such a fundamental myth. But it is also like furthest back one story-wise are two Japanese gods as far as I know. Okay. I'm not actually as familiar with the history as that one as I am with Orpheus and the Pleiades. The thing about Orpheus and Eurydice is it is a very thematic story. Somebody who's willing to go, literally, the phrase "go to hell and back" comes from that story. So it's something that it is a very thematic story. So is it based on somebody who actually did a thing and then played up the story, and then, you know, mythology did what mythology does and it built over time to become more and more mythological, basically? Or was it something just so simple as somebody pining and just being like, no, I love this person so much that if they died, I'd literally go get them. And somebody wrote a story about that, because sure, stories are based on life experience. When you write a story, a part of you is in it. But could it just be something so simple as somebody wrote it because it was interesting to them? It's kind of a boring answer. Very well could be pining's a good chance. Yeah, that's the thing. Stories can be traced. Often stories have some basis in reality. But love stories are a special thing. Stories that are exclusively about love, like Orpheus and Eurydice, are interesting, because you get stories that are arguably more rich and last for a long time without needing to be based on anything. They can just be a thing. And so it does raise the question, because like I said, I brought up both of the examples that I used, actually, Artemis and the guy whose name I forgot. It might have been Philogenies, or I don't know. Point is, it might have been based on a real thing, because it's very believable that look, man, the idea of a group of hunter women just roaming around ancient Greece because they're done with men's shit, nah, that absolutely is believable. That's believable in any time period. And So something like that absolutely could have happened. They just had one dude friend that they were like, all right, you're chill. And let's be honest, he was probably gay. Because, well, everyone needs a gay friend. Every single person. Does not matter who you are, you need a gay friend. And if you don't have one, you are the gay friend. But, stuff like flood myths, very easy to understand how that happens. Because this is gonna blow your mind. Floods happen. But they get blown out of proportion. Just like, oh, this was the biggest flood I've ever seen, and it washed away my entire life. And then the next person tells us, it's like, oh yeah, this person was in a flood, and it washed away their whole town. And it's like, oh well, I was in a flood that washed away a whole forest. And then before you know it, you get this game of telephone where it washed away the whole world. Was me talking about mythology and stuff everybody left. We had a great view count. Now it's back down to 3. I hope that's just a glitch. But it's fascinating because flood myths can be so easily tracked back. And they make sense. But then you have love stories. And love stories never make sense. They never do. You are here. Hi, Nox. And I think that's kind of a good draw. Mythology is your favorite thing. Apparently, I can just talk about mythology all damn day. I've been talking about mythology for, what? Like 30, maybe 40 minutes? Just yapping. It's made this shiny hunting a hell of a lot more bearable. I don't even have to pay attention anymore. But I love talking about that stuff. Hell, if anybody were to want to talk about Pokemon mythology and really tie these themes together, I could yap for days about Pokemon mythology. Because while I find real life mythology obviously more interesting, you're taking a myth and folklore class. Yeah, I don't remember if Kane is or was taking one of those. Because he's not a Japanese major, but he does have Japanese courses he needs to take. But a lot of his is related to art because he is an art major. And I'll never understand this because I find it fascinating. He finds Christian and related artwork. He finds that boring. I don't understand how. There's so much theme and so much purpose put behind this art. For the record, I'm not a Christian. I'm about as anti-theist as you can get. But this artwork means something. I like talking about religion because I don't think it's real. Rather, I don't think the beliefs are valid. But I think the emotion is. The purpose behind these things being made, I absolutely think that that's important. And we have literally like multiple millennia of people reading these stories, making their own interpretations of it, and then writing about it or talking about it or drawing or anything, literally anything. And it builds this fascinating tapestry of stories. Now I do think that organized religion does create this stopper effect. They just put a plug in whatever strays too far outside the norm. But then you get people that don't subscribe to these religions, but find these stories fascinating, and they make things like Neon Genesis Evangelion or Persona 5 I'm not just picking Japanese products. They're just those are the most interesting ones. Where they take these stories that have existed for thousands of years, and they just do something with it fun. Like, they're not using the stories themselves. Kane put it really well the other day. They're not. It's not about the religion. It uses it as an aesthetic because it has this presence and this aura that has existed for thousands of years. And it takes it outside of its wheelhouse and just lets it thrive. And you can actually see this even more so a couple of years ago, where we had this phenomenon of people talking about biblically accurate things, starting, of course, with biblically accurate angels, which is a bit of a dumbing down of how they work, because generally, angels would appear in human form, regardless of which type of angel there were, because there were multiple. There were cherubim, there were Nephilim, Nephilim might have... No, sorry. Nephilim were demigods, basically. They were the children of angels and humans. They were giants. But you have the cherubim and the others. My brain is lagging. I believe there were 3 different versions, the cherubim were being the highest. And it was only one type of angel that would appear as these giant wheels within wheels and 70,000 wings and just eyes everywhere. And they would only appear that way to prophets. But that image just conjures up so much aura. Thank you. Seraphim, cherubim, and Ophanim. Seraphim was the one I was thinking of that I called Nephilim. But I lost my train of thought, damn it. Oh, yeah, so they would only appear that way to prophets. They wouldn't appear that way to just anybody. So that's what made those appearances so noteworthy, is they would come with a purpose. They wouldn't just show up, you know, and they wouldn't just be there. They'd be not afraid. Have you paid your electric bill? It would always be, you know, the highest has chosen you to bear this message, and to do this, you are going to have to take 70,000 porcupine quills to the penis. And it's like, oh man, could I just like write a letter? Like, that's how it would work every time. So that's why these appearances were made. It's not just because, you know, oh, these angels appeared this way to be because they were powerful and scary. It was thematic. It was these characters, these angels, appear this way to show that it's a significant event. To show that they're there for a reason. And what that resulted in is, in the modern day, because of anime, video games, and social media culture, we have created this idea of biblically accurate things just being terrifying. And I'm going off on such a... This started as a talk about Greek mythology, and I'm about to talk about Garfield. Listen to me. So... I'm clipping that real quick. So, this fascination with biblically accurate, which basically, biblically accurate was just the new way of saying eldritch. And the reason why that's so interesting is because it led to things like Garfield becoming this eldritch abomination. It led to things like Meat Canyon's entire style. It led to all these variations of horrors that were too much for man to take. And I bring it up because if you ever kept up with this kind of culture the way that I did, you saw this fascinating phenomenon where, and it was most prevalent with Garfield. If you ever are curious about this, watch Super Eye Patch Wolf's video on the evolution of Garfield, on horror Garfield. And it had this fascinating thing where it would start with just, what if this thing, but kind of scary, and it would just grow in scale and just presentation. And we had this monstrous, unstoppable force that is Garfield, and it kind of began to represent just this hopelessness that John was stuck in. By the way, I forgot to do Finnegan, so I'm going to do it now. This is hilarious that this is how I'm talking right now. It just represented this helplessness, and that's why Garfield was perfect for it, because it just has that vibe already. And so what it ended up evolving into was this redemption, where John was able to overcome the eldritch horror that was plaguing him, and he did it through God. He became a Messiah figure in this artwork, and that is baffling to me, because it started with this fascination of biblically accurate angels and the like, and it loops back around to where what is supposed to be the righteous and the holy devolved into horror, and then the victim became the one that was righteous and holy. And so we have this modern day mythology where we get this messianic figure who overcomes the evil in his life in an incredibly powerful way. And that is why I find these kind of stories fascinating, because of how they evolve when forced to. This was a massive tangent talking about Garfield and everything because of things like Neon Genesis Evangelion and Persona embracing the more, I don't know, like, frankly, monstrous elements of these characters in Judeo-Christian mythologies or religion. It's fascinating. And it wouldn't be possible if people weren't bypassing the control and the control that organized religion has on doctrine and returning back to a very ancient and primal way of seeing these stories, going beyond what stuff like this makes me really want a podcast. I am yapping, Knox. I'm not, like, honestly, if I wrote down what I was saying right now, it's nonsense. Which is what a podcast is, let's be honest. Another white boy with a podcast is really just a way of saying white boys yap, which is what I'm doing. So, let me backtrack to my train of thought again here. this way of telling stories that we have, podcast, is something that ancient societies like Greek society and Romans and the Norse and Egyptians and older Middle Eastern religions prior to Islam, these things understood that. It wasn't meant to explain phenomena as much as it was to tell stories that mean something. And that was it's an art that's kind of been lost. Not in telling stories, obviously. We've always told stories, we're always going to tell stories. But using things that people believe in to explain humanity more so than explain phenomenon. Like, genuinely think about this. Do you think that they actually thought some dude in the sky was just throwing lightning bolts? Sure, there were people that thought that. Like, every society is going to have the people that believe there is a dude throwing lightning bolts. But that wasn't the primary purpose of these stories of these characters. They were intentional. Not like the Greek gods are talked about because they're flawed. So like the Greek gods are some of the most flawed pantheon that we have. And Norse, which is why those are the two most popular, because they're good characters that have flaws and a story is told. I'd argue Norse is even better for it because of Ragnarok, which is hilarious because Ragnarok only exists because of the Christian invasion. Ragnarok is something that literally was written to get the Norse gods out of the way and be like, and then Jesus arrived. Get into what I think. I'll have to join this call. My guy, the Greek gods are... They really are. Because, yes, like I said, obviously there were people that did genuinely believe it. It's not like nobody did. But that was mostly just isolated people that are like, oh, this is the thing I was told, so obviously I'm just going to believe it. That's something that can be traced through history. Everybody does that. You're told something and you're just like, I don't feel like arguing this. I'm just going to trust you. But the Greek and Norse gods, oh my god, the Norse, I'm sorry, the Norse are so much more fascinating because they didn't even bother to write this shit down. It was so intrinsic to who they were, was this art of storytelling, that it got left behind. And we wouldn't even know about it if it weren't for the Christian invasion that rewrote half of it. We don't know what Norse mythology was because they didn't write the shit down. It's fascinating because we have characters like Loki who we don't know who they fucking were. Because the two sources we have, the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda, those are our two sources for all of Norse mythology. 2 books. And they were written by Christians. So we have these characters like Loki, who might not have properly existed. They existed in some form, because we have... So the other part of this, obviously the stories are the primary source of information, but we have physical evidence as well. We have archaeological evidence, things we find, be it pottery, or, well, that was more Greek, but just things, ship figureheads, and just art in general. A big thing is Loki would often appear on signs and things like that, like road signs, and so we know there was some element of him that did exist, but you get into the Christianification of it, and you have this thing where Loki, a lot of the stories involving Loki are I can't really say adjusted because we don't know what they were originally like, but you can see the Christian elements added to a lot of these stories, and a lot of the times when you do, you get this weird thing where Loki is the scapegoat for the Norse gods. They blame him for things that aren't his fault, and they force him to solve their problems. He is a messiah. That's what scapegoat means. He is somebody that pays for the gods' sins, for lack of a better term. Not even for lack of a better term. That is the correct term. But at the same time, he's also a character that causes a lot of these problems. He's a trickster god. He isn't a nice person. He's not somebody that people would regularly pray to. That's why there's not a day of the week named after him. But like, he would always be forced to clean up his own messes, but he would also be there to help others clean up their messes. So he simultaneously becomes this antagonistic character and the Messiah figure. And a lot of that's added in by Christianity, because these themes are taking from Christianity and adjusting what they're saying to better fit that mindset. Like, the Christian monks that were writing this took the stories that existed through word of mouth and adjusted them in ways that fit what they understood. So this what I'm getting back to is this is tying back in to what I'm talking about with what I was talking about before with biblically accurate angels, things like that. This Christianification of Norse mythology is very similar, where these Christian monks had their doctrine and they didn't want to stray from it, but they also had these other stories told by other people, and sometimes they would work it into what they understood by saying, oh, these were nymphs and these were wizards, they weren't gods. And so a lot of that got lost, but at the same time, oh, this story's interesting. How can I turn it into something that makes sense for my worldview? And a lot of the times what that would be is turning these characters into parallels of things we already understood, or rather that they understood. Like Woden's sacrifice is also very Jesus-esque. In a way, it's not. He's not sacrificing himself for other people. What he's doing is there's a price to pay for knowledge, and he is taking that burden onto himself for the benefit of others. And it's like this weird, just 180 twist on similar stories, like the story of Abraham, who is told so if you don't know, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are called the Abrahamic religions because they're all based in one way or another around this story, the story of Abraham, or in Islam, Ibrahim, and his son, the original sacrificial lamb. And this story is about God saying, look, for the benefit of everyone, to save everyone, you need... Basically, he's just saying, you need to do this because I told you to, but the implicit language is saying, in order to keep people safe, you have to make this sacrifice and take on this burden. And it's something that is reflected in this Norse mythology with Woden and him sacrificing his eye and nearly dying in order to gain the knowledge he needs to protect the people he cares about. So, I need to keep going back to this for anybody that keeps joining the stream so that they can see I'm not just talking about Christianity to talk about it. To tie this back into what I was saying before, we have this path of stories where we take doctrine and we go, that's nice, let's keep it over there. What do we have over here? So the Norse did it, or rather the Christian monks that wrote down Norse mythology did it by reflecting their themes and retelling their stories in a different context in order to make something that has lasted almost as long as Christianity, if not longer. These stories are more prevalent to them. And the Greeks were a little different because there was Christian influence in some of the writings, but we have writings that predate Christianity. A lot of writings that predate Christianity. So it's a little easier to have a complete idea of what it was without Christianity. And we see that these themes are not only still there, like they're not just still there. They are similar concepts, but a lot of the time fundamentally shifted on their heads. So the afterlife isn't a place to necessarily strive for, as it is in a lot of places. Like Ragnarok is kind of a Valhalla is kind of a Christian concept. It was an idea that existed prior to the Christianization of Norse mythology, but it's something that was adjusted greatly to make heaven, or Valhalla, something to strive for. And obviously there are other afterlives in Norse mythology, but Valhalla is the one everybody knows. So then we go to mythologies like Greek mythology, and they have a completely different concept of what the afterlife means. It's not a goal, it's an inevitability. It's something you can't fight, but not necessarily something to be afraid of either. So in Judeo-Christian, mostly sects of Christianity, we have, because Judaism doesn't really follow the whole idea of heaven and hell, and Islam has its own idea that I'm not as familiar with, so I don't want to talk about it. But I am more familiar with Christianity. So most sects of Christianity have this concept of, if you're good, you go to the good place. If you're bad, you go to the bad place. And that means different things for different sects. Not something I'm going to get into right now. But it's something, it's a story to tell you, hey, be a good person. Here's where you'll go. And this, there are also concepts, what am I trying to say? Opposed to this, we have related cultures like the Greeks and the Egyptians, because they were really related. They told a lot of the same stories, which is why those mythologies intertwine very well. We have this concept of your heart will be weighed in Egyptian mythology. That's literally, oh, hang on. The stream may be shut down. I'm giving it a moment. Are we good? Uh-oh. Okay. Everything appears to be fine. Y'all can still see me. Y'all can still hear me. Cool. in Greek and Egyptian mythology, we have this concept of weighing your heart. In Egyptian mythology, it's much more literal. But it's not something you strive for. It's intrinsic. The afterlife will happen for everybody. And yeah, sure, you can try to do more good deeds, and maybe, you know, you'll fare better, but it's not about what you did so much as who you are. And the Greeks, I think, have a much more fascinating interpretation of this story, where it's all one afterlife, literally within the earth. It's literally a place you can go, where the majority is just fields of people standing, like, more or less. They're just, I believe in some interpretations they literally become the wheat in the chaff. But for some it's just people just there, like their life just continues, but it's meaningless. Then you have a more Christian idea. I believe I genuinely, this is entirely my own perception, and I'm not an expert, so this could be wrong. I truly believe that the oh Jesus, what is the bad area of Hades? It's a more Christian idea. That's my interpretation. That it's not actually something that was original to the stories. It was something added later. But then you have paradise. Literally, that is what it's referred to sometimes. It's literally paradise. Where it's the heroes, basically. That's what it is. To go to paradise, a lot of the time, you had to be a descendant of a god. It wasn't something that normal people could just achieve. So, what I'm getting back to is this idea of Christianization in Greek mythology, where it created this. It adjusted the afterlife to be something you strive for again, with the paradise and the hell concept. But the majority of people were just there. It was an inevitability. I believe I'm confident that was the original idea in Greek mythology. That it was just your life, you're still there. But unless you were very special, there's nothing for you there. You exist, but you're not really there, if that makes any sense. And so it's a concept that's very full of dread. Where a lot of Christianity has formed up this idea of hope. There is something waiting for you if you deserve it, and if you earn it, rather, I should say. And that's something that was kind of a new concept. And it's fascinating because it adjusts everything that came before it. It adjusts all of the stories, where it's not just people doing what they think is right because it's right. It's people looking for a reward. And looping this back again, because this has now turned into a massive tangent that's kind of, a massive tangent that's overrun what I was saying before. So, this idea of the stories that we are taking from Christianity and like evolving kind of stopped with this idea of like, if we do something truly good, if we earn it, then our lives will continue to have meaning after we're dead. And it created this myth boom throughout the entire, like everywhere the Christians touched, this idea just evolved. And it has taken so much time for humanity to look at that story and go, but what if there was more to it? What if we go back to this idea of the system being flawed? And so it's this is going to sound ridiculous to anybody that is just joining, but I promise I was talking about this nearly an hour ago. We go back to this idea of these modern evolutions of these stories with things like Eldritch Horror Garfield, where there is still this purpose, but it's not some like it's going beyond what you're just told all your life is the answer. And it's something that those old stories really had in spades. Stuff like Greek and Egyptian mythology, and to a lesser extent Norse, is this idea of that humans are lesser, but that they aren't different, I suppose. This concept of nothing truly being immutable. I'm finding it hard to get the words where I'm going with this now. I think I'm gonna have to wrap up because I'm running a little on fumes and I'm starting to get a little circular on it. Because you had depth to these stories. It wasn't just that they were telling you what was. All of this is culminating with me really trying to emphasize the point that these stories meant something. That they weren't just telling you, here's what the world is, deal with it, and if you're good, then you'll get the good thing. It was telling you nobody and nothing can really... Nobody and nothing is truly special, I suppose, would be the way to put it. The gods will do things wrong. The gods will die, especially in the case of Norse mythology. It's a thing that I think Ragnarok actually added to Norse mythology, despite it being a Christian addition. These gods will make mistakes, and they will die, the same as any human. And we can take that. We can take these stories of what these entities do, and we can use it to be better us's. And that's something that's being reflected now again. That's been brought upon by these biblically accurate ideas, because these concepts. This is where this all started. For anybody just joining, by the way, this started because I was talking about biblically accurate angels and why I find them fascinating. And it's created this retroactive boom of stories where the same concepts are becoming relevant again, of the gods being flawed, and we can learn from that and build off of it. And that's why the more serious examples I was using, stuff like Neon Genesis Evangelion, stuff like Persona. Hell, take Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, these kinds of universes. In a lot of those, hell, any JRPG, fucking Earthbound. These are things where you confront these, like, holy beings. You confront literal gods sometimes. Who... Please tell me y'all have been listening to me yapping this whole time.
No,
Unfortunately,
play
not.
Monster Hunter.
Y'all,
Yeah.
you have joined at the tail end of my rant, not even rant, of my pseudo podcast talking about Christianity and its effects on other... It's not what you think. Its effects on other religions and Garfield and... I promise it makes sense. Man, y'all joined at the tail end of this. I can't go over all this again.
Don't.
Anyway, to conclude what I was saying, these concepts, these stories that have been built off of existing stories like those found in Christianity, and taking them to a new place. It's identical to how these older stories were told. Neon Genesis Evangelion, Persona 5, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, any JRPG, I brought up Earthbound. These things take these concepts, these existing Judeo-Christian concepts, and they confront what they mean as a person, how people can learn from them and build, rather than just saying this is what is and you can't do anything about it. Basically, for you two, the whole concept of what I've been saying is just that Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Egyptian mythology, to a way lesser extent Norse mythology, these stories they weren't just used to explain phenomena. They were used to help people build up and learn and improve and do something. And that's something that has come back very recently with stuff like biblically accurate things. It's like, it started as a joke with biblically accurate angels, and stories have just continued to take that concept and evolve, which is how I got into talking about Garfield. And
Understandable. Now I know exactly where you're going.
Yeah. But that's kind of the idea. Is these things, these stories, even when I'm joking about things like biblically accurate Garfield, is they are telling a story. They are doing something with this, with what has come before. And old stories like Orpheus going back for Eurydice aren't just to say you can't save people from the afterlife. It's... I brought this up a good hour and a half ago, that story is the origin of the phrase "to go to hell and back." And that phrase has become so ingrained in common knowledge and speaking. I paused my timer, by the way, because I'm going to be wrapping up the stream here soon. I got 40 resets. What?
Damn. Sorry, what phrase were you?
The phrase "to go to hell and back" originated with the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. Well, I mean,
yeah.
Technically, the Greek version of that story wasn't the first one, but that kind of story.
The old Orphic cult.
Yes.
Cult version of it.
Yeah, but that idea is where that phrase originated, and I think that is the perfect encapsulation of what I've been saying for almost 2 hours now. Is this character of Orpheus was willing to do everything he could to fight for what he cared about. And that is the purpose of the story. But it wouldn't be a very interesting story if it just everything worked out. So there has to be a flaw in it, and that's where that's why those stories are so memorable, is because the key message of them is stuff like that, where it's saying fight for what you need, for what you care about. But
Like, what be forgotten?
I'm
sorry.
but there's also those secondary messages of like things, like you have to stick to that or it won't necessarily work out. It's a very specific story, and I'm getting a little off track talking about it again. The entire purpose, and I will wrap up because I am going in circles at this point.
We're going in circles.
These stories build and continue to build, and I hope they don't just stop at the memes, because we've gotten some genuinely interesting stuff since this stuff got repopularized. I brought up Neon Genesis Evangelion, which kind of predates it a little bit. It's been around for a little while, but it's risen to popularity more recently. It was always popular, but it's found a resurgence since like 2016, 17.
It's back on the throne.
Yeah. Persona 5 was a really big one, where a lot of people got to see these Judeo-Christian ideas separated from their doctrine. And getting to see people...
Fun.
How the fuck did I get to this on a Pokemon stream? I don't even remember.
Because it's Pokemon.
I don't even know if it had anything to do with the Pokemon.
This shit, it just Pokemon hits different.
I'm going back
it's like,
through the...
It's like Warframe at 2 a.m.
Oh my god, no, it's so much stupider. This started because I mentioned that I was in a mythology club in middle school. For about half an hour at the beginning of the stream, I was just talking about how I peaked in middle school and had a minor resurgence in high school.
Okay,
Hi, Nox.
peaked is not the correct word at all. All right, bitch. Hi, Nox.
You got here because I asked about your favorite Greek myth.
Yeah.
That's it. By the way,
Jesus.
I sat
That's
there
funny.
for 2 hours like Greek
I
myth.
should be
this
able
is a great
to-
conversation.
Yeah, it turned into a massive, just nonsense yap about stories and why I love storytelling. And
Sonic, what is
why
he
I
yapping
hate
about?
doctrine.
Holy shit, a talking fox.
Yeah, let's
Yeah. Yeah.
let's not derail it even further by
Yeah.
bringing up Brennan's wonderful fucking speech at the end of Calamity.
Oh, totally.
Oh god.
Y'all, I can't see the horizon. Hatsune Miku! Alright, it's incredibly hot in this room. I've been
It's hot as fuck
resetting
in
this
this hot-ass
Pokemon
room.
game about 40 times for 2 hours. Which is kind of actually a problem because this is 1 in 4,000 odds. So if 2 hours is how long it takes me to do 40, we're going to be here for a while. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these off stream. Once I do have the I'll make sure to take a picture of it in a way that proves that I actually did get it whenever I get it, if I do it off stream. But once we do have the Chespin, we are actually going to be doing a Nuzlocke playthrough of Pokemon Y to celebrate the future release of Pokemon ZA, which is going to have a lot of juicy lore that is actually going to be a lot in line with what I was talking about throughout the stream today, which is bizarre. If you don't know, the reason I like Pokemon is the exact same reason I was talking about mythology for 2 hours. It has some fuck-ass lore. The thing on screen right now, that weird-ass bird, yeah, that's the god of death.
Whenever God of destruction.
Whenever he goes into hibernation, everything on the planet dies. That's the story. So
Right,
yeah,
I forgot about that little tidbit. Yeah,
Pokemon
that's-
lore
love
is
that.
genuinely fascinating. I love Pokemon
Yeah.
lore. It's why I liked replaying Legends Arceus last year. But but
genuinely, like, I may not like the games overall. Well, sorry, not like is a strong word.
the gameplay
I mean, I
is
have
often
a genuine
frustrating.
list of issues of the overall just game design of the Pokemon games. The lore, good shit.
Yeah, I love the lore.
It is good lore.
90% of the time, I like the Pokemon's designs. I think the last
Oh, yeah.
generation actually had some really good designs. Scarlet and Violet. The DLC
we
came
can
out;
do
they
a
have great
Generation
designs.
Get over generation.
Look, Sword and
It's a sweet
Shield
dog,
had some good ones.
yeah, some amidst the sea of
It's-
trash.
Yeah, its best
Like, it
was
rough.
good. Like its best was very good. Its worst was probably some of the worst we've ever had.
Mhm.
Like Electric Dog again,
Why were we both thinking about Yamper? Shut up.
because it's the third Electric Dog they've done.
Uh,
Yes, it's unique. I remember
What's
Didn't
the
I-
second? Because I'm assuming the first you're talking
Electric.
about. Yeah, Electric's the first one. So what's the second?
No, Jolteon.
Jolteon's not a dog.
Dog-esque, I
Fair
should
enough.
say.
I guess.
So,
But I feel like that
like,
using the
general-
evolutions is cheating.
You're cheating, bitch.
Okay.
There's another
Um,
one, isn't there?
Oh,
There's the
yeah, Shinx.
Shinx
for
is a
cat,
lynx.
That's
Yeah.
Lynx, yeah.
See, that's why
I
I'm
can see, yeah, if you would
asking
expand an
because I
electric
was
quadruped.
because I was assuming you were either talking about Shinx, like the Luxray line, or you were talking about Raikou from Generation 2, the legendary beast. But that one's like very clearly a
Oh,
saber-toothed
that's also
tiger.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Um,
I think if I remember correctly, at some point, we were like in the old Hive Mind chat, we were talking about like some of the designs and how,
Oh, yeah.
the idea of repetitiveness that does exist, but
it's definitely
if I remember
there.
correctly, I made a particular point about how, despite I'm just gonna focus on Electrike and Yamper,
Mhm.
and Yapper. Despite them being the same concept, which is electric dog, they go about it in different
Yeah.
ways. Yamper's just fucking boring in comparison.
Yeah, my problem with Yamper is its evolution, Boltund, because I like Yamper's design enough, but
Yeah.
Yamper's
Boltund
evolution
just doesn't really do
loses
anything
all
off
of the
of it.
fun. And if it evolved into something good, I'd like it a lot more. But Boltund is just so boring. It's a big problem. I really like the concept of the Pokemon Nickit. And its evolution, whose name I forgot. But it's just this little fox Thievul.
Evil, yeah.
And it just steals shit. And it's got this mischievous little mustache. And it's fun, and I like it. But at the same time, like, it's just a fox with a mustache.
And a sweeper tail.
in fairness-
it's other...
Yeah. In fairness, both of those Pokemon are found, like, within the first route of the entire game. Later on, you get to the Fairy Forest, and you have 3 Pokemon based on hair witches.
Yeah.
3 lines of Pokemon. And they're all really cool, and I like their concepts. But I
mean,
do
at the end of the day,
think...
there's a same series where its first generation just had a purple rat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The first generation had the best Pokemon. They're really running out of ideas. I liked it better when we had a seal named Seal.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
I
did you
miss
know
my
Ekans
Pokemon
is
games,
snake
man.
backwards? And Arbok is Cobra backwards? And Muck is... Anyway, so...
It's easy. Just like never mind.
So similar to the
appreciate
Yamper issue, one thing that at first kind of bothered me in Generation 9, but upon looking into it, I really like, is there are 3 or 4 different lines of dog Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah.
And 3 of them, I can't remember if there's a 4th one. 3 of them are Graveyard, who is There are two forms. One is just a ghost dog with a candle on its head. One is oh right, Graveyard is the small one, and then Houndstone is the big one with a big tombstone on his head. Then there's again, I can't remember the first form, but the second form is Mabostiff, and it's a mob boss. And then the last one is oh god damn it. Again, I can't remember the first one. The second one is Doxbun, because it's a little bread dog. And each of them have cool stuff about them that relate back to this is not the right way to put it, but Spain lore. Like real life stuff. Splore. But at the same time, all three of them put together are the Butcher, which would be Mabostiff, the Baker, Dachshund, or Doxbun, and the Candlestick Maker, Graveyard. You have the Butcher, the Baker, and the Candlestick Maker. And like that's on top of the individual lore. Like the Graveyard and Houndstone represent the marching party of the dead, which is a Spanish lore myth thing, Spanish folklore that is literally just this parade. And I love dead parades because they're in every fucking culture. I love them to death.
I was gonna say, I know that it's specifically this one. It's more of the Spanish culture variety, but like that is almost universal.
Totally. Yeah,
especially
my favorite one is the Norse one, because
hey,
a lot of them,
speaking of it,
bizarrely, can be traced back to Odin from Norse mythology. I'm not going to get into another rant, but I love that shit.
Not another Norse mythology rant.
Yeah, a
and
lot
it's
of my
almost like
Norse...
a large amount of elements of Norse mythology were just alienated into like a bunch of like, scary, spook your children folklore stories
totally. Because
during the times of Christianity. Tthank you, Christianity. Kill yourself. Sorry.
Yeah, at the beginning I literally called it the Christian invasion because how else would you describe
That's
it?
what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
sorry,
but yeah, no, just there are these multiple dog lines, and at first it's really annoying because you're like, you could have done something more interesting. We don't need this many dogs. And then you look at it and it's like, oh shit, that's actually really fucking clever. Or
like I'm sure on the surface they could have varied it up a little bit more and kept the theming.
Sure.
But like they focused a lot more on theming in the lore.
Yeah.
So, which is
and one of them ends up being very important to the story because Mabostiff is the Pokemon of Arden, the one of your companions. And because I was just looking at my other screen, another like concept like this, where Pokemon just did something really interesting with something that seemed kind of weird at first, is the Pokemon X and Y starters, because you have the three starters are Chespin, Fennekin, and Froakie. I've never used a Froakie. I'm gonna be honest with you. I hate that fucking thing.
I've never used frog. I was only the fire starter kid.
Totally.
Fire starter.
You have a frog, a fox, and a weasel thing. I was talking about this earlier. I don't remember. I don't know what Chespin is, but it's a really weird combination of things that don't seem apparent at all until you get to their, like, as they evolve, it becomes more clear because they're RPG classes.
Yeah.
It's a big tanky fighter, a mage, and a rogue. With Greninja literally being a ninja, and Delphox literally being in wizard robes, out of fur. And then you have the paladin, Chestnut.
Can you imagine if people use those, like play through the Pokemon XY and use that to pick their classes for D&D when they grew up? That'd be nuts.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I picked Chespin, and my first D&D character was a barbarian, so maybe that's what I did.
I mean, so okay, to be fair, you could do that for free all the way back to AD&D, because the base even base D&D first edition, because it was Fighter-Man, Wizard, and Rogue.
Yeah.
Mm.
But
I believe it was those three.
yeah. So you guys, for the record, this was probably my most populated stream consistently throughout the entire thing that I've had in a long time. So thank you, everybody, for staying and listening to my weird-ass mythology rants. But hopefully, once I get this shiny and actually start my Pokemon Y Nuzlocke, I can do 2-hour rants about Pokemon lore instead of about real-life lore. 'Cause I avoided a lot of the problems I actually have with things like organized religion and just talked about the fun stuff, but trust me, I could make a whole podcast about that shit. But
You know what's... Brad, never mind.
yeah. Here, let me raid, and then you get your rant. So we're gonna find and see if anybody is. Oh, somebody's doing the Elite Four. That's wonderful timing. Honey Bunny is playing Monster Hunter Wilds. Wyoming Bound's playing Helldivers. Queen's Puppy is finishing their living decks for this game. That's insane. Sevilla Ellipsos is playing Signalis, which I think I've heard of.
Yes, the lesbian game.
Excuse me? You know,
The main characters are lesbians.
I didn't read their title. Their title is The Desire for Replica
okay.
Smooches Continues.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's about the vibe of Signalis fans.
Fair enough. Caden Jensen is playing Pokemon Platinum. Grass starters, are they even good? Discuss.
Damn.
They exist.
No
Hey,
Respectfully, they exist.
they've been better in the last few games.
They have, but
I think so.
Nobody learned Bulbasaur. Man,
Look.
that's a dog.
Gen 3. Shut the fuck up. Gen 3. Great grass starter with
You
know
this.
that one, Trico. I was remembering the first form, Sceptile. Then Gen 5, I don't think was stat-wise very good, but, you know, Superior just has the vibes and deserves to be noted. Then, obviously, Gen 7, Rowlet evolving into... The second form's Dartrix, I know that. The third one, Rowlet 2. That's what it evolves into, Rowlet 2.
Rowlet 2. Yeah.
Alright.
Garrett, what'd you send me?
What the fuck does it evolve
Nothing.
into? Decidueye.
Decidueye.
Thank you.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Decidueye is one of the best starters we've had and should have been in Smash. Fuck you, Incineroar.
How about it?
I'm gonna. It's been 6 years. I'm still crying about it.
You're really good at doing that.
Yeah. So, then Gen 8, Rillaboom is statistically very good. I picked Grookey because Grookey was a reference to the Beatles, and I thought Grookey was gonna be cool, and then it evolved into a drum gorilla, and I'm like, oh, you have no riz. I don't even know what that word means yet.
Ouch.
But
Oh, I picked Sword Bunny. That's my pick. I don't remember who I picked for that.
Meowscarada.
Real quick, respect.
Yeah, to finish what I was saying, Meowscarada is
Yeah,
absolutely the best grass starter ever.
Yeah.
And now we're getting Meganium again, and my god, Meganium needs a good form or I'm gonna riot.
Yeah.
What were you saying, John?
I respectfully, the fact that you wanted Decidueye in Smash, fuck you.
Nah, we need a flying character. Yes.
No, we don't need we don't need a flying projectile.
We do.
Okay. Youngling players are annoying, and NES players.
We
are
already
annoying
have Joker. Give me another flying gun wielder.
Oh, fuck Joker.
I'm just happy to get Tepic back, okay?
Yeah. So, I have a fun story about Tepig. This is my last tangent, and then I really will find a raid.
Sure.
So,
7 hours later.
Tepig,
starter.
Tepig was my starter when I first played Black and White, but I didn't understand how the
Hmm.
nickname system worked. I accidentally hit yes to give it a nickname, and I'm like, I don't really want to give it a nickname, but I don't know how to go back. So I guess I'll just put in Tepig, and it'll be fine. And I forgot that its nickname stays consistent across its evolutions. So I had an Embor named Tepig. I don't have that cartridge anymore. It got stolen in 7th grade.
Damn.
I know who
Down.
stole it.
Calm
Mike, if
down.
you're watching this, I'm gonna take your spleen. I know
Mike.
you have my Pokewalker.
Named Bite.
Mike, if you are here, I know where you live.
Weren't they in those videos?
No. Mike was
Okay.
never
I
in
thought I
any
remembered.
videos I did. I stopped
not
talking
the
to Mike
old
in
ones?
7th grade.
Okay.
But yeah, I no longer have that cartridge, my Heart Gold cartridge, or my original Y cartridge. I got another one, which is the one I'm using now. But my original Y cartridge is gone. I think those are the only 3 games I lost. I feel like I lost a DS, but I don't remember. Dang. There's gotta be somebody interesting playing this game. Well, you know what? This person is on the Elite Four with 1 viewer. I think they deserve... Or maybe their streams... That's weird. They have people in their chat, but it says... fuck it. I'm sending you guys to Mizu... Mizu Oyuki. Oh god, there's no way I'm gonna get this right. Mizu just started the fight against Diantha. So,
Charizard. Who
Charizard.
do you think you are, lady?
All right, I hope you all enjoyed
Oh.
my long,
Rizzo.
arduous discussion about mythology. Please tune in later this week, where I'll probably be playing more DBZ Team Training, a Pokemon Fire Red ROM hack. We just beat the equivalent of Lieutenant Surge, who was Commander Red of the Red Ribbon Army. And next, we're going to be going and getting the Taioken TM, and then making our way through Dark Tunnel to get to Lavender Town. I'm very curious what that's going to look like. So,
You're literally making your way downtown.
yeah. So yeah, hope y'all
It's a
enjoyed.
joke. Wow.
For everybody new, you'll get to hear this for the first time. I'm very jealous. So remember to hydrate, or die straight, and of course, be gay and do crimes.
Fucking rat.
And we will see you next time. Bye bye.
This fucking thieving rat.
I didn't steal anything. She took mine first.
Yeah, you did.
She took
Yeah,
mine first.
sure. Shut up, bitch.
I don't see no receipts.
Well,
I don't
There's a
see it.
clip